What's good, everybody? Hanging out in the sedan yet again. RgL Sedan Sessions, hanging out with Lonnie Trevino Jr. Another one of the hermanos from another vato. I had a compadre in not too long ago, but you're your brother from another mother, my friend. How are you?
I feel the same way. You're like family to me.
Thank you for hopping in the sedan and joining me as I launch this creative idea, creative concept. Not a new concept at all, but it's something new to me that I'm excited to put out into the world and kind of see what happens with it. And kind of the origin of it is that I'm lucky enough to call people like yourself friends, and I love how kind of we got connected, and because a really unorthodox story for both of us. Really, we met in the most unlikely space.
That's true. Because
But
at the time, I was taking time off of music to save money so that I could move to LA. I don't know if you remember that.
Right, absolutely.
But yeah, had I not gotten that job, I would have never met you.
And it's things like that I want to highlight, is the aha moments, those like
Yeah.
whoa, pivotal sort of things and then we end up never staying just surface level friends. I think
No.
that's one of the quickest things that I remember about a lot of the folks that I've been lucky enough to have in and will have in to join me on the series, is that we want to find out how we're doing. How you been? How are you
Absolutely.
now? What's around the corner for you? So again, RgL Sedan Sessions conversation series that you can find on all over the socials potentially. But yeah, what's up? We're here at Cosmic Coffee. Yes,
This is one of my favorite places. I know the owner, or one of the owners, dear friend of mine for a long, long time. He's been in and out of the music industry as well.
And I'm ashamed to say that this was my first visit. This was it's been here a minute.
Doesn't
Yeah,
have to be your last.
no, I'm saying let's get back. Absolutely.
No, it's a beautiful, and this is only one location. He's opened up 2 more locations, and I've yet to even go to those. This is still my favorite, honestly.
Awesome.
It's just a beautiful courtyard area. But like I was telling you, they cut down all these trees, so there's less shade now, and that concerns me. But
the patio was great. The umbrellas, the seating,
correct.
The food, the tacos, the coffee, everything. Cosmic South Congress
Coffee
Cafe.
is top notch, and
Absolutely.
I'm a bit of a coffee snob.
Yeah, and breakfast tacos. I see you when you're posting online.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is where it's from.
Okay, good.
Yes,
good.
Exactly.
So let's catch people up. Lonnie Trevino Jr. Who is, if you can put it in, I'm not asking you to write your epitaph or anything.
Yeah.
But who is Lonnie Trevino?
Well, first and foremost, I want to also just congratulate you for doing this, because we were talking about this earlier, the imposter syndrome. Nobody wants to know what I do or how I do it, or
right. Are they going to really think it's important?
Yeah. Man, everyone has a story to tell, and I think it would help everyone to know, as long as it's done truthfully,
sure,
and not not acting and trying to be someone that you're not. Genuine.
There's a book, and I don't remember the author. Genuine Authenticity, and it's really, you don't have to worry about the bullet points, but just that, be genuine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bring a good, true, honest, and that is one of the goals. I know a lot of genuinely awesome, amazing, badass people that do what y'all do intently, genuinely. I love because you post it regularly. Is it the Muddy Waters or BB King phrase?
It's a Muddy Waters phrase. I live the life I love, and I love the life I live.
I love when you do that. I love seeing it because it's a good reminder.
Absolutely.
It's a good reminder. And that's one of the things that I remember, not in any other sort of, it impressed me, not in that, like, hey, I'm proud of you. No, I was like, whoa, so we met at a bank, folks.
Yeah.
I was getting my first job ever in banking many years ago as a teller. You were working as a teller as well.
Correct.
Out for a big bank, out in the drive-through, in the Motorbank area. The Motorbank. And people look at you funny when you say Motorbank.
Yeah.
That's what it was called.
Well, what's funny is I've been a musician. I'm quite a bit older than this gentleman right here.
Well, I wasn't going to go there.
But I think that says something, that you and I became fast friends, because you felt like family. You were so familiar to me.
Likewise. Where did you grow up?
Familiar. I think that's
absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I grew up in Houston. I was my formative years were in Houston, Texas, and then for high school, my father moved to South Texas, to a place called McAllen,
Yes.
and he bought a franchise for a carpet cleaning company.
Oh, wow.
And did the whole Hidalgo County. If anybody knows anything about Texas and the counties area, it's a lot of real estate.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he had the whole Hidalgo County for a long, long time. Anyway, so I finished school in.
I didn't know that specific piece. I knew it was South Texas. I thought
Yeah.
it was the Corpus area. So I'm Victoria,
That's
Southwest
right.
Texas. My grandfather and uncle had a floor covering business.
Oh,
Vasquez
really?
Floor
I
Service.
didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. See, folks, this is exactly why I wanted to do and present something like this.
Yeah.
It's those moments of like, wait, you too?
Yeah.
Come on, Miss Cabron. So this is also that speaks to the familiarity
Absolutely.
of it. Like, hey, I know you because you're like my primo, or
Right.
you're like my cousin, or the same thing, or my tío, or
yeah.
whoever. Yeah,
Yeah. You the way we spoke
exactly
was very familiar, very, very, very family.
And for those who know, it's that South Texas,
Uh-huh.
Southeast Spanglish.
Well, in the being Mexican,
Yeah.
Hispanic, there's a certain humor
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of people don't get. And there's
Yes.
derogatory words that we use, but
that aren't
endearing.
That aren't.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was talking about that with some friends the other day.
Yeah,
those are endearment.
Absolutely.
Terms of endearment.
Absolutely. Because you don't just, when there's a difference. If you're calling somebody a bad word or a bad name, you'll know it.
Right.
But when you're saying it out of love, you know that too.
Right. But then also let somebody else do it.
Absolutely.
Let somebody else do. No, this is my amigo pendejo.
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
But don't you say nothing about him.
No. I don't want to say it's the equivalent of the N word, but it's very similar. It's adjacent.
Sure. There's so many layers.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many layers to it. So we met at a bank.
Yeah.
And
that's no longer a bank. Bank One.
We're correct. Yeah. Well, it merged into
Chase.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right when you came in, I think
that was my first job ever into banking, and so everybody knows I've been in banking in different levels and layers.
Believe it or not, it wasn't my first job, but it was the first job I had outside of music in a long time.
Because you're a career musician.
Yeah, I've been playing music professionally since I was 16
and
years
old. And at no point was banking and teller and all that. At no point were you like, hey, listen, I want to become the banker. I want to become. And I think I knew that. And you could kind of see and feel. And once I found out you were a musician, and how serious you took, because you were gigging regularly still. Yeah. I mean, and you always have.
I at the time I was dating and performing and songwriting with a girl that who was working in the bank, and she was a banker, like she was what you eventually became.
Because that's also one of the things I'm noticing about Austin, and like a lot of other creative cities, is you do everything. You do it all, whether you're the 9 to 5, but you're also going to have some gigs. You're also going to have a creative project. You're going to put your hands into as many cookie jars as you can to forward whatever concept, whatever idea, whatever band, whatever it is, filmmaking.
Absolutely.
Because you may see a banker, but that's not just a banker.
No, and especially in a bohemian creative city like Austin, Texas, there's people who are just, doing a job to be able to afford them time to be more creative in the arts.
And do you ever wonder what it's like for those that don't have? I think about that sometimes. That pursuit or that drive. Not because I don't know. Like what do folks do who don't want to do music?
I didn't for a long time. It's funny because when Facebook, when I first got on Facebook, one of the first things that happens is that you get in touch with people you went to high school with.
Mm-hmm. Oh
and all my photos are me, playing on huge stages and traveling the world, and they're all like, "You made it, man! You're living the dream." And I was just,
if they only knew,
I was just like, what the dream? I mean, I'm wide awake. I'm working my ass off.
Dream.
It's not as easy, and not only that, but living paycheck to paycheck, month to month, maybe even week to week,
but gig.
Gig, absolutely. And but it was my wife that said, you don't understand that, their lives are all based around their job, just like yours, like mine, but their job is probably in a cubicle, probably don't even have a window.
Yeah.
And they're seeing you travel the world and do all the things that they would love to do, and they're unable to do. And it dawned on me now that it's not my dream, living the dream. It's their dream they're talking about.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to slice that. And I was just talking with one of my buddies last night about that. But it also takes discipline. It also takes having to do what's one way I've heard it, to do for a few years what others won't, so you can live a life that others can't. In that discipline, if it means budgeting for a few months, right, man. But having to put that in practice.
Yeah.
I can't go out this many times a month. Oh no, because I want to. It's thinking about that, and sometimes you can afford to do that. Sometimes you can't when it is gig to gig or it's paycheck to paycheck. That's what a lot of folks don't realize too, is that those steps sometimes are a luxury. Being able to take those steps.
Learning how to live within your means and budgeting yourself is so hard, because we've had the luxury of just, everything at our fingertips, or just at hand's reach, arm's reach, so it's in just the same thing with, living in the present moment. That's
being here now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a practice, like you said, it's something that we'll never be able to master, but that space in between will get smaller and smaller and smaller.
So that was Bank One Austin in the early 2000s that we met. 2004 or 5 is when I started.
That's correct.
2004 or 5 is when I started.
I moved to LA I think at the end of 5.
That's right. You went to LA for a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was working on a publishing deal as well. I was out there.
What was the journey before that for you, though?
Man, just traveling the United States and the world.
Because in so many of my circles, your names come in the over. That's what I also love about this. Again, RgL SEDAN sessions, conversation series, where we kind of peel the curtain back on what's it been like. How did we get here? And because a lot of the folks and friends that I've been lucky enough to be in circles with, we become family, like we've alluded to. We are family.
Yeah.
But Austin is such a big international piece of a lot of things, but it's a small town.
Yeah.
It's kind of a small town.
I mean, it was originally, 30 years ago, even, if and more clearly.
Yeah.
But, it was a small, sleepy college town. Mm-hmm. I mean, when school was out, it was a ghost town.
Sure.
I mean,
there wasn't South Congress the way you think of South Congress.
No.
And even still, that closes early on that part of South Congress.
Yeah. But it was, you could live anywhere in the city and be downtown in 10 minutes and find parking. Free parking.
Right.
Free parking.
That. What is that?
Yeah, and be at the club and ready to, party.
Yeah.
It was not gridded properly to be a metropolis like it wants to be.
Yeah, I've heard that so many times. Like, the forefathers didn't think about this. The founding fathers of Austin didn't think whatever it was.
No, it was just a place. It was a place to go to school and where the capital was.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no, it wasn't that as touristy as it is now, or as just bustling as people wanting to live here and start families and all the things. It's changed drastically, and that's one of the reasons why I left, because it was just overwhelming, man. Sure. It's hard to live within the city limits anymore.
And that's a rabbit hole that we could go down, but you're a musician, career musician.
Yeah.
There's a lot of musicians that are doing exactly that.
So I've been playing professionally since I was 16 years old, traveling the United States. I mean, in a van or a vehicle with a bunch of dudes.
When did you know that's what you wanted? That's how it was going to be for you? Because we were talking earlier about the Mickey Mouse record. When did you know? And you were talking about your second birthday. You remember?
I can remember my second birthday. Yeah, it's bizarre. I remember certain, like I said, the floor, the screen door, the spring, how that sound it made.
Very key elements.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I remember the Formica table and in the kitchen.
Colors, smells,
all of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I know what you're talking about.
the percolator coffee that you put on top of the stove, stuff like that. It was
for me. It was the sound of the comal on the
oh.
oven. Yeah, because that just made a clank. It had a smell. It had a
Yeah.
and it was always there. It was always there.
Yeah. But I've been traveling with bands. I was always a hired gun.
Okay. Did you play bass?
Play a bass all my life. Yeah.
Play any other instruments?
I can play anything with strings.
Sure.
I can figure something out, but I wouldn't be a virtuoso by any means.
You sing. You're a vocalist.
And I'm a vocalist. But that kind of came late, too. I always was a background vocalist, a harmony singer, and then it wasn't until the South Austin Moonlighters that I started singing lead. Really? Yeah.
Okay. Now that brings us to now and then also. So the South Austin Moonlighters. Tell us about that. What and how can we find? What are you doing? You are the founding member, yes?
I'm the sole of the original 6. I'm the only one who's in the band now.
Wow.
But
which you started when?
We started that in April of 2011 at the Saxon Pub, happy hour.
Yep.
And it was a bunch of dudes. And this happens all the time, where you play a festival or whatever, and you're hanging out with all these different bands and people you admire and your friends, and you see them and you're like, man, we should get together and we should jam.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time, and it never comes to fruition.
Right.
So I as one of the original members said, that Lonnie had the audacity to book shows, so we had to put up or shut up. So I booked the string of happy hours.
So without any firm commitments, you started booking. You're like, all right, we're gonna be here.
Here's the thing. Let's do it.
I love it.
And there was 6 of us at the time, and we each picked 3 covers that we've always wanted to do.
I remember that the origins of it had a very what am I trying to say? Songwriters in the round type of feeling.
Correct.
And there was a big deal about you guys were all sitting down.
Right.
You guys were all sitting down, because I remember the first show at Threadgill's, I believe it was, and it was the South Austin Moonlighters standing up.
Yes, that's right.
It was the Threadgill's down on Barton Springs, and
I think we sit upright and electric is what it was, because it was sort of acoustic, but not really.
Right.
But no, and it was like we trade off singers, but it was purposely, we were all playing each other's songs as a band, which was real unique, because usually when you go to see songwriters in the round, it's one guy singing and the other ones are watching.
Oh, true, you're right, absolutely.
But we purposely wanted to be a band, but with different lead singers,
and it resonated. I could tell, because I was at those early Saxon shows. And I'm sure, obviously, you've got folks that have been following ever since and stay religiously into, and those were great shows. But I remember those specifically. People resonated, and being out in the audience and sitting at the bar, like, man, because you guys are playing rock solid songs too, and originals and covers.
Yeah, we started integrating original songs, and it started to just, there was something there, and we knew that something was there, and people were digging it. And then when it started getting kind of serious, that's when people started kind of saying, listen, I love playing these, but this is getting out of my willingness to be a part of this. And understood, it was no hard feelings, nobody was upset about anything, but other people were like, I need to concentrate on my band. And it whittled down to 4 of us, and we did 4 of us for a long time. And people would come and go, and the lineup right now is probably the best lineup it's ever been. And no offense to anyone else that was in the band, but there just seems to be more of a
that's the natural progression of
a common goal, everyone really enjoys what we're doing.
Did it ever come close to, you're like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to keep this together?
Oh, of course.
Because you don't live in Austin anymore.
No,
that's right. We touched on that.
I moved away about 7 years ago. I moved to New Orleans, which is a blessing and a curse in many ways, because New Orleans is beautiful and the culture is beautiful, and it's the curse part about it is that it's 20 years behind in everything.
Oh,
They
wow.
just don't want to. I don't know if they don't want to, but somehow the infrastructure, the political side of it, everything, they're kind of keeping everyone 20 years
Oh,
behind
wow.
of everything, and
Wow.
it's really bizarre.
Well, and not to mention Mother Nature swings pretty
Yeah.
hard.
Oh, that
down
too.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if anybody knows how to hunker down,
Sure.
it's New
Right.
Orleans, you know. But it was the lifestyle there. Again, blessing and a curse, is very laid back, very
Yeah.
slow. It's
Yeah.
big, easy,
Yeah.
you know. But when you need something, is when it gets on your nerves.
You need it. Yeah. You need a little bit quicker pace. You need
Yeah.
it. Oh, wow.
But man, otherwise,
How long were you there?
I love 7 years,
Okay.
and I have a house there still, and my wife and I are wanting to move to Nashville, but we didn't want to sell. We don't want to sell our house in New Orleans, but it looks like, you know, we're still trying to catch up from the pandemic, you know, financially. By no means, you know, are we rich, but you know, we're making it work, and somehow we're juggling credit cards and whatnot. You know,
the American dream.
The American dream.
What is that anyway?
So we still have our house in New Orleans, and we're renting a small little tiny place in Nashville, trying to find a house there. And we were putting up our house in New Orleans so that we could afford to sell the house, and so that we could afford a house in Nashville, because we were trying to make it work so we could have both. I don't know if it's going to work that way. However, it just was announced. We've known this for a while. The NFL wants to do this Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
In New Orleans in 25.
Okay.
Okay, but now they have said they will not do it there unless the city of New Orleans does something about their infrastructure.
Okay.
Which since Katrina, they have done very little to nothing.
This is what, you 25, you said? The 25?
Yeah, 2025. So they have kind of put up or shut up kind of thing.
It's a lot of work to do in a short time.
Well, they should have been doing it
no, I know.
for 20 years, you know,
Yeah,
20-something years. And so this is also kind of lit a fire under our ass that maybe we'll hold off on putting the house on the market. And sidebar, there was litigation for few years now with Airbnb, and that's how I made.
I thought y'all were using it as that for a while. Yeah.
Well, we couldn't for a while because the city was kind of putting the kibosh on it, and it was a big to do. But anyways, we got that all sorted out. We have our Airbnb license back, so we're gonna hold off on putting it on the market and wait for that.
Yeah,
that NFL money.
Because that could do a lot like what ACL and South by money does here, you know,
or Tesla, the Tesla plant out there. That's where our house was before we moved.
Really?
Had we held on to it just a little bit more, we would have that Tesla.
How many Austinites have that story?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. And I'm on the another end of the spectrum, and again, so many rabbit holes where I've been priced out. I believe, even working in certain industries that I have. It's tough. The city's tough.
It's a common story, man.
And when you want to do something creative, it makes it even harder because that's a tough living. You know, that's one other thread that I'm noticing is it's a challenge to pursue the passions, but then still to make a living.
Yeah.
How have you been able to balance that throughout?
Who says I am? Man, just
oh my gosh,
doing the best I can. You know, it's really, really tough. Working the system is all I can say is you just got to find the ways and live within your means. And
well, one of the things I remember you saying a long time ago to me, because like you said, you are older than me. You are meant to. And another theme that I'm noticing is that you guys are friends. You folks are friends that I'm asking to help me with the series, but you're mentors, you're advisors. Because in a lot of ways, well, obviously, you've been here longer, you know what I'm saying? And you're living a life, and I would say you're living a life that a lot of people want to have done or even tried.
Well, that's the crazy thing is people move here because of the bohemian lifestyle, the artistic lifestyle.
Well, and that's what resonated with me. I
the live music. Yeah, absolutely. There's all of this. All of that is a part of this beautiful city. But then they move here and they up the prices, and they're drawing out all of the artistic folks to the smaller towns that surround
Because when
the
your
outskirts.
focus is just on how to survive, you don't have the bandwidth
Yeah,
to go and press out the creativity. That's the
yeah.
tough. I mean, I know folks. One of my other guests was Dewey Brooks. He's a board member of the Austin Creative Alliance.
Oh,
So that and
nice.
like similar other boards, several people who come to the coffee group. One of them was one of the key founding members of Ham and Sims. But obviously for years now, I've been a part of that coffee group, 12, 13 years. It's been the same conversation. How do we make this better? And it's like, come on, like what?
Yes.
Ah,
No, it would, believe me, we all have, but the thing is that they keep moving the goalposts, so it's
yeah,
hard to, score and make
it's that carrot that just,
Yeah,
oh my,
exactly.
my God.
Exactly.
No, so Lonnie Trevino Jr. hanging out, bass player with South Austin Moonlighters. Now that's the band. Now, do you know how many bands you've been in?
Oh God, no. I started out of high school in a band called Broxton in McAllen, Texas.
Okay.
They were the premier cover top 40 band in the area, and they owned a club, so they were the house band of
Sure.
a club. And I joined that band, and immediately.
What kind of music?
Top 40.
Okay.
Cover.
Got it.
Radio.
Yeah, yeah,
whatever
yeah.
was top.
Yeah, you just wanted to play.
Yeah, and we traveled the United States for 5 years straight.
Wow.
I came home to my parents' house twice in that 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that the first time? Sounds
Yeah.
like that you were able. Wow. What was that like?
Man, it was amazing. It was terrible. It was fantastic.
What
It
years
was lonely.
was
Oh, geez, it was like 98 through, what was that, 8, 9, so like around 92, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And then I moved here in 93.
Why Austin? Because I moved here for film.
I'm
TV, film, whatever, and it was because Austin still is
well at
a
the
creative
time.
mecca.
Yeah,
but at the time it was.
At the time, the industry was here. Music industry,
in a whole bunch of film too.
Yeah,
there was. I think at the time you could go to any movie theater anywhere and see 10 to 12 films that all were shot in Austin or had something to do with.
Absolutely, and the industry was here, and they left quick though. After a while, that was around the .com era.
Yeah,
and they left Austin a mess, man. It was pretty devastating.
I think wrung it dry.
Pretty much.
Like, boom, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so I moved here and played. I've toured with. Well, let me go back. So Broxton, and then I joined a band called Tequila Mockingbird, which was also a cover band, but they weren't doing the top 40. They were just doing their favorite songs, like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Doobie Brothers.
Yeah,
and,
party band.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
So that was kind of a change.
About.
Then I did that, and then I joined a band called the Naked Alley All Stars because they were making some good money, and they were like a show band. They would start like 50s, and then they would do a show of 60s, and then a show of 70s, even up to the 80s, where they were doing kind of more of like the Rolling Stones, "Miss You," or or Rod Stewart's "If You Want My Body," stuff like that. So I did that for a short time. I jumped ship from that, and I joined a guy trio kind of rock blues band, the Chris Rivera band.
Okay, I remember that name.
Yeah, he's big time in South Texas, man. And he is kind of I shouldn't say kind of, he is the John Mayall of South Texas, John Mayall of England.
Where is he from? Because I grew up in Victoria, and I remember he toured
Brownsville, Texas.
Or he would go. Okay, yeah.
No,
he would play Victoria, I think, quite a bit.
Oh, absolutely. And he is just he would nurture young musicians, and then they would go on to do bigger and better things.
Great, yeah.
And I'd like to include myself into that. He mentored me, and I asked him. I got a call to audition for a band here. They were called Language House, and they were signed to Geffen Records, and they were working on. They had put out one record independently, and Geffen bought it.
Yeah.
And wanted them to do another record, so they needed, and it was two dudes, and they needed a band. So they saw me playing with Chris Rivera, and they said, "Will you come and audition?" I was like, "Sure, I'll come and audition." So I came and auditioned, nailed it, and
of course,
went back to Chris and said, "Chris, here's the deal. I got this opportunity." Told him the whole story, and he was like, "Man, you got to do it." He didn't like try to like
hold you back. Not yeah,
you got to do it
because you hear those horror stories. Yeah. No, that's really cool and inspiring to be able to
absolutely.
Like, yeah.
No hard feelings. He said, "Man, I'll do fine. I'll find somebody to play, but you need to go and
do it.
Experience this." And it was, man, and that whole project was never got off the ground.
Oh, really?
We rehearsed, and our drummer at the time insulted the female A&R artist.
Okay, yeah, quick way to not go anywhere.
Yeah, A&R department and it was, so they said, we are not going to put any more money behind this unless you get rid of that drummer. And we were like, he's a good guy and he was a good friend. He was just being funny. Like, for instance, when I first met him, when I auditioned for the band, he came up to me and he goes, "Boy, you sure are pretty. I'm gonna have fun with you." And I said, my response was, "All right, but I'm not gonna like it." And he goes, "We're gonna be just fine."
Banter,
banter. It's fun.
Yeah.
And
but a lot, like we said earlier, culturally and language wise, like, you got to kind of know that's the space. And if you're talking to someone in another circle that maybe don't know,
or you don't know, what their history is, and maybe that's a trigger for something really bad for them, and everybody has their own story, but so anyway, so we did that over, and we tried to find a drummer. It just didn't work. And then we hired a keyboard player who ended up started stealing stuff.
Oh my gosh,
it was bizarre. Anyways, long story short,
folks, you didn't know this was going to be VH1 behind the music, right?
That's what, and then the coke came in. No,
so I alluded to that in one of my last guys. There's several, again, those overlaps in creativity and concepts and ideas and the drive of why I want to do certain things I want to do. Again, RgL SEDAN Sessions conversation series where we're peeling back the curtain and the lifestyle, and again, it gets a little intimate, and I think it also is a testament to how when people are in their cars, you feel safe. You feel like it's your own bubble. It's everybody else is in their own world too. We got to do it together.
Well, when we're alone, we sing at the top of our lungs.
We're picking our nose. We're doing all. But interesting tie-in as well. That's also what I want to highlight is all of these overlaps that I've noticed in my life. Going, oh my God, this is so coincidence, but there's no real coincidence. A big motivator for me way back in the day to do anything creative was one of the VH1 Behind the Music episodes, and I was talking about it in another episode of mine, of David Geffen, when he was receiving his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame award. And he had said, listen, it's not, he goes, "I'm not talented. My talent is identifying talent in others." And I love that, and I'm not absolving myself of talent at all. I said that in the other episode, but that's one of the things that I've enjoyed is I knew meeting others like you and like us, like you can see the spark in other folks it's one of those things when you spot it, you got it, for good and bad, sort of things. Like, I'm not a musician at all, but I love seeing people do their craft. That's one of the things that I've always enjoyed of watching your shows, and good shows, is that language of musicians, because there's a lot of times I remember early on, and I'm sure you still do, you guys would kind of riff, and go, and you could see, if you're, again, and I come from some theater and some film background where it's a collaborative thing. Obviously, you're not the only one up there.
But it'd be like improv.
Absolutely.
Back and forth banter, but you're doing it with instruments. Yeah, it's true.
And then how does that play into life? Improv is listening. And you do a little bit, but you got to just listen.
You have to be aware. You have to be able to be in the present moment and hear what someone else is doing, and also thinking ahead of how you're going to improve on that, or join that, or even take it to another place.
Right.
And it's just like improv.
Yeah. What's around the corner for Sam, South Austin Moonlighters?
Well, we put out a record last year, produced by Steve Berlin of Los Lobos.
That's right. You got connected with him. Well,
And
you've been connected with him for a while,
we
yeah?
have, yeah. And he also is producing my solo record.
You're working on a solo.
Yeah, I'm really excited
Yes,
about that.
that's right. Yeah, I remember you've been posting about it for a minute. Okay, good.
And it's nothing. The best part about it is, if you know what the South Austin Moonlighters are, which is an Americana band, more blues based rock and roll. I would say it's kind of like if Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and Little Feat were somehow all in the same band.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's your solo. Your solo.
No. That's
the
South Austin Moonlighters. But my solo record is nothing like that. It's kind of like
what is your preference? I remember you because one of the band, or I guess the band that you were in when we met, was funky. It was Well, no, there was another band you were in that was playing heavy duty funky stuff.
Yeah,
and I remember digging that a lot.
But it's but the solo. I just like music. So I mean, that's the thing about the solo record, is that it's not all just one genre of music. I like to describe it as if it's like Wings and the Split Ends combined, and special guests Prince, Tom Waits, and David Bowie.
Because if you haven't ever seen Lonnie perform, he's got a very Prince element. You've heard that, I'm sure, a lot.
Yeah,
you do. I mean, vocally even too,
sure,
right?
Sure.
Yeah. Prince is amazingly talented.
I can't do that anymore.
No.
I had not to brag, but I had a 6-octave range at one point, and I could sing really high and like Prince, like that stuff. But since COVID, I'm not kidding you, I lost that ability to go up that high anymore.
Did you get it? Did you come down with it?
Yeah, I had it twice.
I'm one of the rare that I've never had it. I've never had to be tested. I've never had it, and I'm probably going to get it now. I don't know that I bragged that.
Probably. You probably already had it and didn't know.
No, and I think there was a few stories. I remember folks, I was super sick right before.
Yeah.
And everybody plays it back. Hindsight's 2020. But anyway, COVID was a mess. It did what it did to everybody.
Long-term COVID, it really fucked my voice up for a while. For a while there, I was really scared.
I bet.
Because there were times when I would open my mouth to sing a note and nothing would come out, and it was scary, man. I tried not to say anything because I didn't.
You don't want to make it real,
right? That's it.
You don't want to manifest it. No, this isn't. No, we'll deal with it.
And I'm slowly getting back to being. I'm not by no means 100% because I can't hit those high notes anymore. So I've been trying to work around it, find other things, and it's doing fine. And I'm writing songs with a lower register.
Lonnie Trevino Jr. hanging out South Austin Moonlighters is one of his current iterations, music paths. You're working on a solo album as well. Man, I want to thank you for hanging out in the sedan and for helping me kind of mold this Play-Doh. I think if anybody would understand that, it's someone like yourself, collaborative musician, crafting.
Absolutely. I've, like you were telling me, I've thought about doing a podcast and just haven't had the motivation to start it. But this is great, and also going back to what we were saying earlier of our friendship. I know who my good friends are because we cannot talk for a long time, and the moment we do, it's like we never.
Right back. Absolutely.
That's the way you know.
Yeah, because I don't remember what the last. I mean, you were in town briefly, and I bought a camera.
Yeah.
From you. Thank you for that.
Thank you for that. You helped
my photography itch.
Yeah.
No, that's the cycle of it. I think that's the natural, the artist or whatever, and the economy of it all, of creativity. But even before that, I don't remember what chronologically. But you're absolutely right. You get in. Whether it's at Cosmic or it was Hop Dotty then, we're in the sedan just going for a cruise. Like, let's just catch up.
Yeah, man.
Let's just figure out how it is. There's a couple of things and themes that I'm noticing over each of the conversations that I'm loving finding out, and we can wrap up in just a bit because the coffee hit, the tacos hit, and I want to go take a nap. I had a good time with it, but it's hot. It's summer now.
Yeah.
The what is, because I mean there's a lot of creative lives and a lot of creative pursuits that you're into that you still do indulge, I'm sure. What is one of the biggest misconceptions or things that people either get wrong or forget about or that are surprised about you when they get to know you and you allow someone to go a little bit deeper? Or one of those things that you want people to know more of?
Yeah, you know, the hardest thing to get across to people, especially non-artistic people, is that you know, anything in the arts, but specifically for me, being a musician, uh, uh, it's very hard for people to have a concept that this is actually a career. They think of it more of a
That
hobby.
it can happen.
Yeah, it's a hobby. You're a weekend. Yeah, you play music on the weekends.
I see that going a couple ways. So people will think that because, one, they don't know that it's achievable, and maybe don't know enough people that. So you're one of the big motivators for me to continue to do acting, and it does feel at times like you're that, for me at least, because you're working, you're in it. I'm not as much as I'd like to in that area, so you can feel sometimes like you're just talking.
Yeah, man.
You know, and not feel that it's real. But when you see folks living it, doing it, and reminding you, like, hey, go out and get it, it does for me. It motivates me to go out and put together, whether it's tech, mics, whatever it is, and go create something. But then also on the other end, I could see some folks just going, that's too much work. I don't.
Man, that's
it's good. A weeding out of.
Yeah, it's good to hear that, because, you know, on my end, I'm like, you know, throwing stuff out there, hoping and thinking,
shouting in the cave. Yeah. I know exactly what you're
talking about. Is anybody seeing this? Because I don't know.
It is.
It's hard to tell. You know, you get the thumbs ups, but
and social media gets so diluted. Absolutely. Sometimes, you know.
Yes.
I follow a few photographers on Instagram, and what I'm enjoying now in creativity in general is there's less and less gatekeepers, and you see that
that's good or bad. Because, you know, the gate. I mean, you know, all the music that I grew up loving and listening to, and that to me will stand the test of time more so than music that's coming out right now, in my opinion, is because there were gatekeepers. You know, there were.
Well, what I'm referring to is from in the learning curve.
Yeah. Oh, perspective. Sure.
So very, 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 very big in the photographer world. It was, you know, getaway kid. You buy them, oh, hey, what lens are you? Well, how did you get that now? Hey, no, this is mine.
Or you had to be in the know, and, you know, now you can just YouTube shit.
Right,
you know?
Right. And there's more and more of that. Hey, photographers, go. This is how I got this. This is how.
Yeah.
But there's one in particular that I follow, and I forget the tag or post, whatever. But she always encouraged, like, hey, post the stuff, the old photos, post the old song. Post the old idea. Post what you're working on now, because someone's watching.
It'll find an audience.
Yeah,
absolutely. That is very, very true.
So thank you for being a part of me posting the stuff.
Yeah,
doing the thing. RgL SEDAN
Are you
session
kidding?
Conversation series. Lastly, if not living the life you love, loving the life you live, which it sounds like I don't know if you'll have an answer for this one. If not what you're doing now, what would you be doing?
Oh, geez. Man, I have no idea. Probably graphic art.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's what I was doing when I was a kid.
Did you dabble a lot? Yeah.
Yeah. I when I was in junior high, the art teachers saw something in me, and they would ship me to the high school.
Oh, wow.
For my class to do artwork with the high school kids. Hated it. Because, you know, my friends weren't there.
Right, okay.
I'm the little dude, you know, from the junior high, hanging out with high school kids. They don't want to talk to me. And then
you're a prodigy, man. You didn't.
And then in high school, they would ship me off to the college. And this was
down in McAllen.
This was and this one professor saw something in me and was encouraging me to do. And at the time, we were doing live model nude drawing, or scantily clad, you know.
Yeah.
And I was anything to just get the work done so I could leave.
Oh, wow.
So I was just doing whatever. So I just sketched her feet.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? Just to be an asshole. And she loved it. She thought it was genius. She thought I was fucking, you know, amazing.
Brilliant.
For real. And she entered my drawings into a contest, a city contest in Houston, Texas. This was actually in Houston.
Okay.
And we no, I'm thinking of something else. But one time there was one of my teachers who thought I was brilliant, and she entered no, this was in McAllen. Never mind. I'm my old age.
I was gonna say the vehicle over here.
But no, this was in McAllen. and she saw something. She entered me into a contest, the city contest, and I ended up winning a key to the city of McAllen for art excellence.
Yeah.
Just
promise.
No, seriously, all because I just drew this woman's feet.
Okay, all right. Artist over here.
So that's probably, and I had believe it or not, I had God, I'm forgetting all of this stuff, but I had a chance to have a scholarship through the Art Institute.
Really?
Yeah, they kind of sourced me out, because of these professors who just thought I was, amazing.
Wow.
And all of it was pencil drawing. I didn't do anything else.
That's amazing.
Do
you still do any?
No, I haven't done it in so long.
I remember you did. You also dabbled in photography, yeah?
I did.
You did. Yeah,
I did. I found this real unique way of using a Polaroid camera. I used to have the SX70s, the ones that fold down like that.
Yeah.
And I would manipulate it and use filters and whatnot, and I would create these amazing little photos. And I had an exhibit here in Austin, Texas.
Really?
Yeah, some time ago. It was probably around 2005. No, it was after that. Let's see, where was it? Anyway, it was in the mid 2000s.
I think I remember something about it. Yeah.
And I'll get a niche and I'll scratch it, but then I don't really stick with it. I would, because music takes up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
And I've been since COVID. I've been practicing, been writing a song a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes. I have about 3 albums worth of really good material that I need to get out, but of course it costs money and it's really tough, and the band, Sam needs to start working on our next record. We need to start like gathering songs, trying to figure out who we want to produce it, where are we going to record it, stuff like that. So we're already, starting to plant those seeds and hoping that they bear fruit.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you get to it. That's why you're in town. You guys are gigging. You got other, sounds like tons of other irons.
The 14th at the Saxon Pub. Come.
Okay.
Please.
Definitely.
I'll put you on the list.
Orale. Lonnie Trevino Jr., South Austin Moonlighters, friend, familia.
Absolutely.
Brother from another mother, my friend.
For
Thank you very,
real.
very much. RgL SEDAN Sessions, thank you for joining me as I take this journey on and off and see where it goes. RgL SEDAN Sessions.
I wish you the best, man. This is going to be cool.
Thank you very much.